Howdy, good evening, and hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into episode number 69 of Clark After Dark. Didn't mean to say 69 all silly, but it is a great number, isn't it? And it can come off your tongue many different ways, I will tell you now, ladies and gentlemen. But a good number, and I'm not sure that that's how I plan to bring in this podcast. You can take it or leave it however you like and however you be. But we're happy to be here tonight, live and direct on RaceON.com, ladies and gentlemen. I've been driving all day, or all evening anyway. It's really not that far of a drive. A drive from Texarkana to Houston and vice versa, or Houston back to Texarkana, is really just nothing compared to like a drive to Corpus Christi. I've made that drive quite a few times over the last 10 years. So just a trip to Houston or Spring, Texas, if you will, is just a hopscotch, skip, and a jump. And while I was in Spring, I thought about giving my boy Chris Brown old downtown a call, but didn't get around to doing that. But man, been a lot of great racers that have come from Spring, Texas over the years. But that's where we celebrated our 2025 RaceON season. We typically get everybody together at the end of the year. A lot of folks weren't able to make it. Trust me, folks, it was a last-minute decision for me to head down there. Chris David, owner of RaceON, really talked me into it last second. I said, forget the roads, and the further I got south, the better the roads were. But I left before it really got bad. I left Friday just in the nick of time, right when it started to get cold and the road started freezing over. So this evening when I got back to Mount Enterprise, headed back from Houston, is when the roads got bad. But other than that, safe and sound, and it was a good trip. We had a lot of fun. And I'll go ahead and quit rambling at this point now about what I've done all weekend and this, that, and the third. I'll bring in my co-host of this podcast. Here he is, folks, Cortland Smith from Alexandria, Louisiana. Cortland, I've said enough. How are you doing tonight, man? Is the roads and everything looking good? You still got some ice on the ground down there in Alexandria, neck of the woods, or was it warm enough today to melt all that stuff down?
It was warm enough today to melt all that stuff down. Luckily, they were predicting anywhere from a quarter to 3/4 of an inch of freezing rain and ice. And, knock on wood, not that it wasn't as bad as expected, but we got a lot more sleet than supposedly than freezing rain. So, which was good. We didn't have as much damage and whatnot, but literally 40 miles north of us, they still have 3 or 4 inches of ice on the ground. So, could have been a lot worse. Prayers to those people that were impacted greatly. I know there's a lot of people still, especially in the Manny, Louisiana area, and there's still some people out here on the outskirts back in the good old Flatwoods, the original hometown of Cortland Smith. There's a lot of people out there still without power. So T's and P's to all those that have been affected by this crazy winter storm. It's not very often it happens, but at least once a year we get a chance of some silly weather rolling in down south, and the old Arctic blast got us pretty good, but we managed it through. Got a day off of school. I can't complain about that, and we were back at it today, so we're back wide open. Everything's rolling around here in the greater Alexandria area, my friend. I'm glad everybody, for the most part, has made it through the winter storm. And again, to those that are still fighting with generators, trying to keep those running, prayers out to you, my friend, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to get a generator running whenever it's 20 degrees outside.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I ended up when I got back here this evening, I mean, it was pretty damn cold. I didn't have the heater running when I was gone. So, yeah, I mean, it took a while to get this thing warmed up, to a pretty respectable level. So, yeah, it is. And when you step outside of this unit right now, I mean, the ground is definitely like ice. If I had some ice skates, I'd get me it'd be a lot of fun out there. If I was a kid again, but 37, we're not getting out there and busting our ass. But anyway, it's fun to think about it anyway. I've seen a lot. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of redneck stuff, which I come to expect to see, over the last several years. When we get snow or ice, that's what you do. You get the old trash can lid, you go out there and you have at it and have a little bit of fun with your kids and whatnot. So hope everybody had fun and got the good out of it before you have to go back to work. It is always kind of fun, right? Like, I mean, as long as you have power, right? I think most people are happy as long as they have power, but obviously, when you don't have power, that makes things a lot less fun. I mean, if anybody's got their smartphone, they're able to charge it. I think most people will be happy in a winter storm. And then if you get a little bit bored, you can find a way to go out there and get pulled around by a rope on a raft or something like that. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff the last few days. Anyway, man, hey, the Super Bowl 60 is set. You got the New England Patriots versus the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, we kind of talked about it last week. Jarrett Stidham coming in for the injured Bo Nix after he broke his ankle, and man, he came out strong, threw a touchdown on the opening drive. Like, Denver kind of looked strong, dude. They did not score another point from that time. But if you saw the time lapse, dude, from the first quarter to the start of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, how much the weather changed. Like, dude, I mean, you had Will Lutz out there attempting a 34-yard field goal, and I mean, that thing shanked hard left, and he's one of the better kickers in the National Football League. the elements proved to be a deal. And I tell you what, Sean Payton's probably kicking himself, come yesterday morning. Of course, I'm the one playing Monday morning quarterback, but he's probably kicking himself for not taking the 3 points earlier. But hindsight's always 2020, right? If you'd known that the weather was going to get as bad as it was, maybe you'd have taken the points. I mean, points are always such at a premium in playoff football. But anyway, hey, we've talked more about football these last couple of weeks. But anyway, Super Bowl rematch from 10 years ago.
Yep.
Everybody remembers Russell Wilson throwing the interception to Malcolm Butler on the 1 inch, on the basically the 1 inch yard line. And everybody since that time, it's been a running joke on social media. They should have given Marshawn Lynch the ball. Like, why not give Beast Mode the ball at the 1 yard line? Instead, Russell Wilson throws the pick. Tom Brady wins his 6th Super Bowl at that time. He went on, of course, to win another one for Tampa Bay in 2019 during the COVID year. But hey, dude, I'm expecting Seattle to win this game handedly. That's just how I feel. I think they're just such a well-rounded team. But then again, Mike Vrabel's had them boys, New England, ready to go all year. You know what? I just want to say before I throw it back to you real quick, like when New England got rid of Brady, or when Brady left, I want to say they got rid of him. When he left as a free agent and went to Tampa Bay, and they had a couple struggling seasons, right? These last 2 years, they went 4-13. They had Gerard Mayo as their head coach last year. They fire him. And the whole time I've been thinking, welcome to the rest of us. All of you New England fans, like, welcome to the rest of us that actually knows what it's like to struggle. Like all these Super Bowls you've been to with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. By the way, this is another thing off the top of my head. Bill Belichick somehow, some way is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, which really, really
Silly.
pisses me off. I don't even know how that's possible. That's absolute insanity. Like, I don't know what the qualifications must be, but if Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame, then Bill Belichick, and I know Jerry wasn't first ballot, but this guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame first ballot. If you win 8 Super Bowls, you need to be stamped, sealed, delivered. Like, what in the actual hell is going on in Foxborough? But anyway, Patriots, Seahawks. I think Seahawks are going to win this thing handily, but we're going to find out because, like I said, Vrabel's had the boys ready, and we'll see what happens February the 8th.
Vrabel will have the boys ready. I think it'll be a really good game, but like you alluded to, Seattle Seahawks are just a really well-rounded team. I mean, it's kind of like the Seahawks of old that defense can play well, offense can go out there and score the ball. They're just a really well-rounded team, but I don't know, man. Vrabel, he's one of those guys that just seems to pull out an extra gear out of his players. I think I've mentioned on here before, between him and Dan Campbell, those are two of the coaches that just really seem to be players coaches, but they're really disciplined and they're really set in their ways, and they can just they can pull that little bit extra out of their dudes that and go put something out there that's just something incredible. So it'll be a fun game. Like you said, it's funny. We're sitting here as football fans. The Patriots are gonna feel like what it is to be a normal sports fan, and then all of a sudden, right back on top of the world, they're playing for the Super Bowl, for the all out, just the glory and honor that it is to get it. I mean, just to even make it there, really. And but I will say, I don't think I've said it recently. Whoever those voters are for the Hall of Fame, they can go hop in the pond because they're a silly goose. Like, I don't care if you hate Belichick. I don't care if you love him. I don't care if you don't even know what football is. Bill Belichick is a Hall of Famer. And when that coming out, and I even think like that, the other athletes and football players that have even said that, like, it is just absolute insanity, the fact that Bill Belichick wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, I don't get it. I know this is a racing podcast. Somebody's probably waiting on us to talk about something with 4 tires and a steering wheel, but let's just talk about the insanity of Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, I don't get it. Like, that really does that bean boozles me. Like, that's a little, I don't know what you would call it.
Because any of the extracurriculars that have gone on post coaching career, which of course he's back coaching at UNC, and obviously things didn't go great. They went 5-7 this year, right? Like, oh, if he's such a Hall of Fame coach, and he would have turned him, because everybody wants instant gratification now. So I don't know that if his relationship with this Jordan, I can't remember this Jordan girl's last name, and who cares? Be honest. I mean, people can have their opinion about Bill Belichick dating this younger female. Of course, she's like Jordan Hudson's her name. She's like 27 or 28 years old. I mean, or she might even be younger than that. But I mean, honestly, whatever he does in his personal life, all I know what he did in X's and O's and in between the yellow, or in between the white lines on Sundays. And as far as winning 8 Super Bowls, a couple as an assistant for the New York Giants, like, all that other shit doesn't matter. Just like it didn't matter when Terrell Owens got shunned out of the Hall of Fame for the first couple of years. He even got so upset about it that, like, you know what? I don't even want to be in your Hall of Fame. If Terrell Owens isn't a Hall of Famer because he showed his ass, which wide receiver in NFL history really didn't show their tail? That's just who they are. right? Like Jerry Rice
Prima
really didn't.
donnas.
He was more of a Jerry Rice was more of a respectable kind of let his play show, and he's still like probably arguably the greatest of all time in my opinion. He is, but it is interesting though. Like there's absolutely no way. I'll tell you this: I'll quit watching the NFL. Listen, I love football and I love it all. I will quit. I'll mark my words. I will quit watching the NFL if Bill Belichick also, in conjunction, if Drew Brees, for somehow, some reason, some way, Drew Brees also is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, Zach Clark is checked out on the NFL. I'm done. That would be it for me. I'm just saying. If somehow Drew Brees comes out, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, we're done. But moving on, man, this is episode 69 this week, right? Episode 69. So man, there's quite a few 69s I think of course. The 11-time Louisiana State Dirt Track Championship winner, of course, Derek Grigsby. We got Cool Hand Luke, Lucas Schott. He's former IMCA Duel in the Desert winner. He's a former Great Young Hands Memorial winner. Lucas Schott, one of the best and one of the more versatile, modified drivers. He's won multiple big USR8, USMTS style races that have paid big money. And of course, like I said, he won the Duel in the Desert. He's out of Chatfield, Minnesota, drives a number 69. Got one of our former iRacing buddies, Cecil Kirkpatrick, also used to race around the Houston area. He's a number 69. And I'm going to tell you a quick story, okay? At number 69, when I was growing up down on Woodvine Circle in Houghton, Louisiana, okay, in Dogwood subdivision, there was a man by the name of Les Waits. He used to drive trucks for Tango, and he had a number 69 IMCA modified. And man, it was a beautiful car. It was white lettered, it was blue, and it had like pink flames on it. This man had a parrot in his house, and this parrot, like you go knock on the door, and he'd say like, like it was pretty wild. But anyway, Les Waits had a number 69 IMCA modified that'd sit in the driveway, and you'd hear him down there just every now and then, wabba, wabba, just firing that baby up. And every now and then he'd show up to the Bayou Speedway play day every year. But I swear to God, I never saw Les Waits compete in a race, but he showed up to every play day for like 3 or 4 years in a row. But Les Waits in the 69, and I got another one really special and near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. Of course, Stacy Villeman, but his son Ty, who we tragically lost a couple of years ago. We missed Ty Villeman, but the Villemans, man, great people that raced Sabine Speedway for many a years. And Villeman Trucking and Equipment, of course. Man, there's a lot I could say about that Ty Villeman situation. Just so tragic, man. But truly great people that live their life by their faith, and happy to talk about them here, man. I know you got a couple 69s. You might have a couple that I had too, but I'm not sure. Hopefully I didn't steal any of yours.
No, it's all good. I did have old Cool Hand Luke and Ty Vuleman, man. What a great family and everything. Like you said, it's a really sad deal. We lost them, and T's and P's still go out to the family. That's something that'll never, it'll never get easy. I'm not, there's no telling what that family goes through, but they're still, holding strong. And T's and P's out to them, man. Ty was a great kid. I got to really build a relationship there with him right before the accident happened. So it's all T's and P's out to them, but my 69, I'm coming from the top rope with this one, Zach. So I'm going to give some sprint car love. Kreitz Racing, 69K. The
That's
baby blue and orange. I mean, when I first kind of started watching all this racing, no streaming coming out, everybody can say what they want about streaming, but it gave old Cortland Smith an option to watch a bunch of races. And Lance DeWeese was always seemed to be behind the wheel of that car. But in recent times, Christopher Bales drove it with the green interstate batteries. I believe he raced it at TMS at a couple times this year. Darren Pittman's been behind the wheel of it, this year or in years. This year or last year at some point, I know Darren Pittman was behind the wheel of it. But Kreitz Racing, 69K for all my sprint car people out there. I haven't thrown a whole lot of sprint car drivers out there, but I'm gonna give a shout out to the PA sprint car team. I mean, would you consider them part of the PA posse? I feel like no matter where the Kreitz Racing car shows up, that's got to be a PA posse car, right? Like, I know Lance DeWeese is obviously PA posse, but like it's got to be a guaranteed PA posse no matter who drives the car, right?
That car is PA posse to the bone. Like, whenever they come down and they travel to a different area of the wood, they're like PA posse's back in PA rooting that baby on. Like that's one of us is what they're saying. So yeah, absolutely. Also this past weekend, man, kicked off how about 207 late models on the grounds of the Volusia Speedway Park down in Barberville, Florida, kicking off Volusia 1.0. I'm not really sure exactly what they called the event on behalf of the World of Outlaws. What they call it, Winter Nationals or
Sunshine Nationals?
Sunshine, that's right. I just call it Volusia 1.0.
They just need to go ahead and call it Late Model Palooza. because there is
Dude.
more plastic fenders, front flares. There's more plastic flares and tearaway spoilers than the eye could ever imagine. Like, it is just late model palooza. They're just all over the place. Like, it is absolutely bonkers.
It is. 602 is going to 602. That we know, and that there is no doubt. There was 107 Crate Racing USA Crate Late models, which those are the 604s. My buddy Cody Early was on the call for that. But man, the World of Outlaws, dude. Nice field of cars there this weekend. Your 3 winners, we'll get into them. Chris Madden. You know, last week you and I were sending each other a message. You know, the picture of Madden's black new 44 Infinity race car,
Yeah.
and he goes out and if it would have been official, he'd have set a new track record. I think a 14.8. He was like 0.3 quicker than what the previous track record was at Volusia. And man, that speed really translated over for him on opening night. He gets a win. Nick Hoffman kind of made it pretty interesting there late in the race. Hoffman found a really good line around the bottom. Hoffman was really tough all 3 nights, but Chris Madden wins on the opening night. And of course, Huddy kind of leaving right where he left off at the Wild West Shootout. He picks up night number 2. And then night number 3, as our buddy Troy Shute says, the world's a better place when Tim McCready wins a race. And that is another fact as well. But 3 really good winners, 3 different winners. Once again, we kind of continue that trend that we had at the Wild West Shootout. You know, the only repeat winner there was Hudson O'Neal. So 5 different winners in 6 nights in Arizona. Then we start off with 3 different winners down in Florida at Volusia. So kind of what were your takes from the couple of nights of race or few nights of racing there?
The 44 is fast. The fast 44. I know we say the fast 49, but the 44 is fast. That's all you got to know about this past weekend. Saturday wasn't necessarily his best run, but Friday he was running up front, had a battery issue, or he probably would have gave Huddy all he could handle there. Just like you said, on practice night, went out there lights out fast. Then Thursday, there was no doubt who the best car in the field was come Thursday night when the checker flag dropped, because Chris Madden. Hoffman did show a nose there, and Madden even alluded to it. Like, he got a little tight, but he just got up on the wheel and went elbows up and made sure that the job was accomplished. You know, he wasn't going to let that one slip away. Friday, Huddy picks up right where he left off. Just want to leave a little note there that Turbo also went in there and kind of made a last niche effort rolling that bottom. And you know, like he said and mentioned in the interview, if he would have stayed to the bottom a little bit more once he got past a couple cars, it maybe would have had a chance a little sooner to get to Huddy and actually race him. But Hudson O'Neal still just as fast as he was out in Arizona. That Rumley 6 car with Huddy behind the wheel has been a really good combo, even all the way up to last year. You know, they just seem to be a really good pairing. And I mean, at the end of the day, when you got Kevin Rumley on the wrenches, it's going to be hard not to be fast. And then you put Hudson O'Neal with behind the wheel, it's going to be pretty good. And then absolutely just love the showing that T-Mac put on there Saturday, kind of rolling that bottom. You know, the Volusia, that new dirt or newish dirt. It wasn't necessarily the dirt they raced on last year down there. A lot of guys alluded that it's the Volusia of old, you know, and they'll get down there and it'll be super wet early. It'll be wide open, get it on. And then, you got a bottom lane that you got to go down there and really hit very well, or you can go up there and blast the top or momentum through the middle, man. Volusia is one of those places that you either love it or hate it. It's, you know, they call it the world's fastest half mile. It's on a big old banner down the backstretch back there. And I mean, when that place is right, dude, I've been blessed to be sitting on the backstretch there and watching cars qualify, heat race, feature. And when they come down that backstretch, man, it's as close to like a Batesville type field. Them guys are absolutely flying. And it's an absolute display of just performance car drivers whenever you watch cars go around there. And the racing was absolutely phenomenal all 3 nights there at the Sunshine Nationals. You know, it's really what a great weekend to kind of start off. I know it's not the speed weeks of old. A lot of people, I'm sure, will notice here with the schedule changes and whatnot, a lot of post-Daytona racing for the Lucas Oil Series, but just what a phenomenal week that they had to open up. I got something pretty cool, and I mentioned it on Thursday. I was sitting here watching it, and I put the note down, and I was waiting on somebody to the broadcast to mention it, and it says it like they should have or nothing, but I thought it was cool. It was an Infinity chassis winning it. A Longhorn was second, a Rocket was third. 3 different chassis in the top 3 there, which was pretty cool to me, you know, really considering the dominance that, you know, Longhorns have really had. And Sheppy, man, my biggest takeaway from the weekend, Shepard had the most top 5s with 3 of them. He comes away with a third, a fourth, and a second. And maybe just getting out there with the B5 in Arizona, they just had bad luck from the get go. But you put the B Shep in the Rocket 1, even in the B5 car, he's still fast. But Sheppy's not he's not slumping no more. I put him as one of my more disappointing performances from Arizona, and then he sure enough turned around and told old Cortland Smith that I'm a silly goose and I need to go hop in the Gator Pond down there at Volusia, because he come out ripping and roaring and was really fast in the Rocket car.
Yeah, absolutely. You know who another driver that really impressed me this weekend that showed a lot of strength and speed also in rocket cars? I was impressed with Dennis Erb Jr. He leaves Volusia
DJ.
1.0 sitting fourth in the points. He finished a strong third on the finale there on Saturday night. But I thought Erb looked really strong as well. And like you said, Brandon Shepard's going to leave Volusia with the point lead. I feel like Michael Rigsby or Dustin Jarrett said last week on their little preview show that the driver that's left Volusia with the point lead has not ended up the champion. I said something along those lines the other day. I wish I could remember exactly what he said, so it'd have been a lot smarter of how I said it here. But anyway, I think with Hudson, though, winning one of them races, obviously he's going to declare and run Lucas Oil. And with the way the points look right now, I don't think I think, obviously Brandon Shepard won the title 2 years ago, but I don't think you can really have, I mean, Nick Hoffman showing some strength. I mean, very well, your Lucas Oil champion this year could come from this top three leaving Volusia 1.0, but Bobby Pierce leaves. He's fifth in points. Tyler Erb also had a strong showing, and Ryan Gusson is seventh, but all these guys are still knotted up. Like Brandon Overton's eighth, and he's 46 points back. So obviously it's a long season, a lot of racing to go yet, but it never hurts to get a head up on the competition, right? So Brandon Shepard's looking awfully good after, like you said, he struggled in the family B5 car back at Arizona at the Wild West Shootout. So I know he's got to feel an extra pep in his step for how things went over there in Arizona. So really, really good showing for Shepard and the Rocket 1 team. I'm sure Bobby Pierce, it feels like, I don't know if the 32's off a little bit or if people have just caught up to him. What do you say? I mean, because he's been starting up front every week, right? Like typically if he starts on the front row, just like he did in Arizona, I mean, he's going to charge and he's just as fast as he was. But I don't know. Maybe we need a bigger sample size, right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit bigger sample size. I actually have that down that Pierce's best run was a sixth, and there's not many nights that Bobby Pierce is going to race 3 nights at the same track and his best run be sixth. I don't know. I'm not going to be 100% positive on this, but I think he may have been one of those guys that may have switched to Olin shocks whenever Rumley went to Olin's and kind of got a couple different guys. I may be wrong on that, but I also think at the end of the day that the competition is just catching up to an extent. This sport has ebbs and flows. You talk about Bobby Pierce's best run being sixth. Well, RTJ's best run of the week was fifth, and those two guys have absolutely dominated the last 2 years. And yes, RTJ won out in Arizona, but when you put him in his 20 RT, he's got Anthony Burrows back on the wrenches. The dream team, I guess you would want to say, is back. When they first came out, was hair on fire a couple years ago. But I think everybody's just stepping up their game. The sport just has ebbs and flows to it. Everything's changing day by day. These guys are out there testing. They were testing at the Hendry County, I think is the name of it, where they go later in speed weeks, that they'll go down to South Florida and race there. And just everybody catching up. There's more money than ever on the line. There's more people more invested than ever, kind of like it alludes to the whole racing hard deal. At some point, if you're not just constantly just on the evolution, and who's to say these guys don't come out and win the rest of the speed weeks races between the 32 and the 20 RT. But I just think everybody catches up. When you ride in the wave, you ride it as good as you can, and then at some point the wave is going to hit the beach and you got to paddle back out there and ride another one in. So it's one of those deals that obviously the 32 is just as good of a driver as he ever was. The 20 RT is just as good of a driver as he ever was. They got the best equipment. It's just one of those deals where right now maybe not large enough sample size starting 2026, but stuff isn't necessarily up to par for what they're used to. But it is something interesting, just the eclectic mix of drivers that win the Sunshine Nationals. Last year I think Gustin and Albertson picked up wins there. So that Sunshine Nationals is kind of always, I'm not saying Gustin and Albertson aren't dudes to go out there and win big races, but you kind of always get a different little vibe with that 1.0 field. Not necessarily all the Lucas guys are there. You got your World of Outlaws dudes and a couple of the Lucas guys kind of mix in there. So you just kind of get a mixed bag. It's early in the season. I'm sure a lot of guys are testing. A lot of new things are out there and they're trying to figure it out, but definitely not up to par for what the 32 normally is. And the 20 RT as well, his best run was fifth on Thursday. So that's two guys that I'm sure are going to be scratching and clawing and doing everything they can to put their names back on top of the list and get in victory lane.
It's going to be interesting for Hudson O'Neal. after and having a really, really dominant start to 2026 in this Rumley 6 car. He's gonna go get in the 71, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not gonna feel quite as up to snuff maybe as the 6 has, you know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be
Yeah.
kinda I mean, right, like, it'd be kinda odd for him. I mean, he's used to it. I mean, I know he's driven this car a little bit in the past, but to have such a dominant start to the year, like, do you think he kinda wishes he could hang around and run this car for the duration of the year? What do you think? Like, I know he doesn't wanna I know Rumley's not interested probably in doing that, but remember when Davenport went on that run and won the 2015 Lucas Oil title and won all them crown jewel races and went on that Superman run where he really earned that nickname, like, they didn't really Kevin and Leroy didn't, set during speed weeks to really set out to run the title that year either. They just started dominating from the jump, and so they were like, "The hell
Yeah.
with it," and they went ahead and ran it and dominated the entire year, but, like, Hudson probably doesn't have that option, right? Like, he's got a luxury that he's still got his SSI Motorsports team, but, I don't know. I mean, I know it's not a precarious spot to be in. They already know, and I know the goal is to always go out and win races, right? Like, I know that the goal is always to win no matter who you drive for, but, again, I know there's no drama there, but, yeah, I don't know. You go hopefully you're as quick as you are in the 71, I'm sure is what he's thinking.
Yeah, and it also helps when you go back to the 71, you got the bull Jason Durham on the wrenches, longtime crew chief for the 49, and then broke off there with Stormy Scott the last couple of years, and then teamed back up. And once when Durham and Huddy got back together, as when he went on that tear early in the year last year with, I think they call it the Spring Nationals at Wheatland, won all them races. And then, he ended the year out really good. He won the Knoxville, the late model nationals. So he's kind of had some speed, some sneaky speed himself. But yeah, it's one of those deals when you go drive the Rumley 6 car and essentially the R&D car, and they got like a new bolt-on front clip, and it's kind of scratching everybody's head supposedly in the pit area. It's one of those feelings that who knows, it might not, he may go from driving this 6 car 7 or 8 times and then hop in that 71, and like you said, it may not feel the same, and he'll just be searching for that feel, because once a driver gets a certain feel to the car that they like, every single driver has a different feel they want out of their race car. He's going to be trying to chase to get that feeling. Or opposite hand of that, obviously him and Rumley are boys, and he's just going to go ahead and have the next closest thing to that 6 car in the SSI stable, because let's just be real, a lot of money out there on the line. What is it to buy a new car if you're going to go out there and just run as good as he has? Like, you got 2 different ways to go with that. You know what I mean?
Hold on. I want to interject here. Now, if you are Roger Sellers, wait, Sellers doesn't own the SSI team. I'm sorry. I'm Todd. Who owns the SSI? Todd and Vicky Burns. Todd and Vicky Burns. Yeah. Sorry. So if you are Todd Burns, wouldn't it behoove you that if Hudson O'Neal is my full-time driver, right, on the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series tour, and you are only going to drive for the Rumley 6 in a sample size, if you're Todd Burns, wouldn't you call Kevin Rumley and say, "Hey, man, whatever y'all figure out, if y'all go out and have a lot of success on this 6 car, like, whatever y'all do, I will loan you my driver if," you know what I mean? Like, if y'all have, I will loan you my driver if y'all have success. Y'all can share a little bit of notes and allow the 71 car to get up to snuff as well. Like, I feel like that's only fair, Like, I was just sitting here thinking about it. I wonder how these kind of conversations go down.
It really makes you wonder, because if he goes from the 6 car and goes to the 71, he doesn't have instant speed, then it's like, why would Todd Burns let his driver go out there? And I'm not saying make himself look bad, but I mean, you're going to feel bad as an owner and the poor crew guys. Like, he's winning all these races with the Rumley 6, and you get back to SSI with your team and your homies and your owner and his stuff, and you don't go run up to snuff. Yeah, it's a feeling that kind of got you in a situation there, like, what are we doing wrong, But I think it's all about connections. I think nobody will fray away from that in the dirt late model world, because connections is information, and information is speed, friend. It's one of those deals you see, whether it's the Rumley, being in there with Longhorn and getting in with that connection, or, even a guy like Vinny Giuliani, VG Performance. He's out there with Troutman, Albertson, Devin Moran. You got these guys that are just essentially, I mean, they both got engineering degrees, and they happen to be engineers with a dirt track racing background, and can apply everything they learned to the greatest extent on a dirt track. Because really, I've seen an engineer for Hyperco Springs walk up to a dirt late model race, and he's just kind of like, now I'm not saying bean boozled, but he doesn't understand all the inner workings of what goes on. And for an engineer to really excel, I would say. I'm not saying there's not any engineer that can't come out of the woods and put us all to test, but to have that knowledge of racing as Romley has, grew up around it. Same thing with Vinny. Those guys are just able to put that stuff to the extent. So going back to the Romley deal, I think it's one of those deals. Hey, Huddy, go out there. You go run with Romley whenever you want. Just make sure you're in that 71 car when Lucas Oil rolls around, and make sure you got plenty of sticky notes on you when you're in that 6-car, bud, because you can just write down everything that you can and memorize what you can, and we can apply that to our team. That's the way I really feel like that conversation goes, because like you said, that's that Todd and Vicky Burns SSI, like Huddy's their driver. Like they essentially, I'm not saying they booted RTJ out of the deal, but how that whole transaction, and in the article, that was the team that got Hudson O'Neal his start. That was the team that brought Hudson O'Neal back. Like that. Obviously, Todd and Vicky, Burns, they got a really good relationship with Huddy, and that's just that's their guy. So I think it's one of those deals that they're also in the mindset of like, whatever's best for Hudson O'Neal as well. Like, we got your 71 car. We got the SSI Motorsports here for Lucas Oil races. But if you can do anything to advance your career and our race team, go out there and do it, friend, because if you can get some notes from Kevin Rumley, you're getting notes from one of the best.
One thing that I really kind of enjoy about Hudson O'Neal's winning streak here lately is that I'm not saying people forgot or maybe they fail to realize, but I saw a lot of hate going towards that young man whenever that SSI Motorsports switch and all that stuff happened on social media. Man, there's a lot of toxic talk out there about, like, for absolutely no reason. Like, Hudson O'Neal has got to be one of the nicest kids. Like, I'm not here to kiss his ass, but he is. Like, honestly, like, he's like, if he were your race car driver, like, that's how you would want him to handle himself. Like, he's been nothing but professional, and he's really, like, the point of it, he's a really, really, really good race car driver. He's unquestionably one of the top 4. Like, he continues to win races. He's a Lucas Oil champion. He's won a World 100. I don't know what more he needs to prove to anybody, but maybe he's just not in that Pierce Davenport echelon yet, but I think he's just right there on the cusp of it, if he's not already. Man, I got a different conversation tonight I want to have about maybe some races that you and I have seen personally. Just fun conversation, man. Sometimes we get in and we just talk about the stuff that's been going on around racing, and Chris David told me recently that he thinks a lot of people might think, are interested about some of the experiences and things that I've had, or some experiences that you've had that we share. And I was like, well, hell, and it got me thinking about, because we've seen a lot of races, or I know I've seen a lot of races, dude. I've been going to the racetrack seriously since I've been announcing races since the midpoint of the 2008 season. I've announced a ton of races, but even races that I haven't announced, I've watched a ton of races growing up as a kid, right? Been at the racetrack literally my whole life. And I just wanted to ask you, what was the best super late model race that you've ever seen? And I kind of wanted to narrow it down to a race you've seen in person, because like we've all watched a lot of races online and on a broadcast, but like, so what's the best super late model race you've ever seen in person?
I got to take back to little Cortland. Me and my boy Darty would always make a trip up to the Topless 100 in Batesville. That was the first week school started, and Mom would absolutely ride our tails because Dad was going to check me out of school Friday at about 9 o'clock, and we was going to ride up to Batesville. It is the 2010 Topless 100. Jared Landers makes a heroic pass to win the Topless 100 in his hometown, gets out, throws the helmet. He's the number 7 car. Dad was number 7. I liked anybody that was number 7, like most kids would, if that was your dad's number. He gets out and is absolutely fired up. Maybe that's where my love for the exuberant victory lane celebration started. But that right there, I'll never forget it. Me and Dad, we had to buy, once they rained out and they canceled it and they said we're going to run it was a Sunday day race. We actually had to go up to the t-shirts trailers and buy t-shirts for the next day because we didn't pack enough clothes, because me and my boy Darty always packed really light when we headed to the races. We just packed what we needed, nothing extra. We was going to drive home Saturday night after the races. He's going to pull the all-nighter. I was going to be passed out before we even made it out of Locust Grove. But the 2010 Topless 100, Jared Landers makes the pass, and I'm 99% sure it's where we get the great quote from Scott Bloomquist saying, I made it the farthest on the original tires. I won the race. He got a gift. But Jared Landers, the 2010 Topless 100, that was absolutely one of the coolest races I've ever seen. It was miserably hot. Day racing at Batesville is not fun for anybody, but that was just one from a kid. Ever since I was little, man, that was a race that has always stuck out in my head and just came right to mind whenever you asked. So I'm going to ask you the same question, Zach. What was your best super late model race that you've ever seen in person?
I've seen a lot, man. I've got a few. I've got several actually, because man, a couple of them rushed
I
to
got
mind
some
when
more
we
to
started
get to.
thinking about this. Um, how about the inaugural Pelican 100 that Roy Moore won? Man, it was so
Yeah.
electric, man. The fans were on their feet for the local Houghton racer. Just a phenomenal race, like through in and throughout. The racetrack was prepared so well. Bub McCool led some laps. Of course, he finished second for the first two races and finally won it for the third one.
Yeah.
But man, just them first few Pelicans were just electric, man. The 2014 Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series at Arclatech Speedway. Scott Bloomquist wins after Ray Moore leads 48 and a quarter lap. Scott gets him, and it adds, once again another racetrack to his resume. Where he says he has 75% winning percentage at first time racetracks that he visits. So that was really cool that Scott won at Arclatech in his first ever trip. And then I ended up talking to him about that race at Horseshoe Casino several years later, but pretty cool. And I got a picture of that. I think I've showed it before, but and then hey, the Ronnie Adams Memorial between Tyler Erb and Jesse Stovall several years ago. Just a phenomenal race, barn burner. I'm pretty sure the highlights might be out there on RaceON on social media. And then, dude, one of the best races I have ever seen still to this day. And those three two that I just mentioned are some of the best races I've ever seen too. By the way, that Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series race at Arclatech, you can find it on my announcer broadcaster page. It's a phenomenal race. 2008 Southern United Professional Racing Series SUPR Late Models at Arclatech Speedway. Lee Davis versus Rob Litton, with Rob Litton getting the win by literally this much.
Yeah.
One of the best races I've ever seen. Photo finish. And then an honorable mention. It's a heat race. It's a heat race honorable mention. This is undoubtedly the best heat race I've ever seen in my life. At Texarkana 67 Speedway back in 2020, I believe. It may have been 2019. Dude, Jesse Stovall gets pushed off the racetrack early, like on lap one of the heat race. He restarts at the back. He restarted seventh, and which isn't that far back. But in an 8-lap heat race, you got to pass a car a lap basically. Jesse Stovall, it seemingly never lifted around Texarkana for 7 laps and passed John Mitchell coming around 3 and 4, coming to the checkered flag. It was incredible. Fans were on their feet. And what's funny, before there was a little bit of a dispute or an argument, like, motors were flaring, revving up between John Mitchell and
Yeah.
Stovall. They had a little bit of a disagreement. And, that's John Mitchell country. Like, that's Catman country over there.
Yeah.
So the fans at first were like booing the shit out of Jesse. Like, they're like, boo, fuck you. And then he stormed. Dude, they had no other choice but to cheer for him. Seriously. Like, they
Yeah.
literally watched him storm and walk the dog around their hometown favorite, John Mitchell. And listen, I love John. John's a buddy of mine, so this isn't like a shot at him. But like those fans went from hating Jesse Stovall in 5 minutes
To
or less to loving him. It was incredible. It was like, seriously, I'll never forget it. It was phenomenal. Like, I need to find that video and we need to share it on social media again. And I'm not sure, that's one thing. Like, that's why I wanted to talk about things that we've seen in person, Cortland, because video can't always capture this. Like, the feeling I
no.
get. Like, I'm not kidding you. It's kind of weird, but like, I'm not kidding you. It is really cold in here, so that probably is attributed to it. Like, brr. But no, I had hairs standing up on my arms just thinking about that run, dude. And I know it was just a heat race, but um, here's the deal. He closed the deal, and I believe he went on to win the feature that night. So, or maybe Tony Jackson ended up getting him. But either way, Jesse Stovall put on a race. That's what I've got right there. What else do you got?
I gotta give an honorable mention. It is the Friday night weekend of the Wild West Shootout 2023. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, or I say a couple weeks ago, Lord, it might have been 3 or 4 months ago. But Bobby Pierce won, Jonathan Davenport second, Garrett Albertson third, Kyle Larson fourth plus 16, Brandon Shepard was fifth, Weiss was sixth, Marler was seventh, Dillard eighth, Johnny Scott ninth, and my boy Bagley was 10th plus 14. That race right there, I mentioned it before whenever we talked about Votto leaving, standing in the infield and watching Kyle Larson pass 14 cars, and then the guy that you're also crewing for passed 12 cars, and literally that was the race. And I'm telling you, like, Kyle Larson would go by and blow by somebody on the top, and then they would move up, and then Bagley would just drive right up underneath them and leave both of them, and they just charged through the field. That was one of them 30-lap get-her-owns at the Wild West Shootout. 2023, like, I think it was race of the year. for Dirt on Dirt at the Wild West Shootout. But man, any super late model race at Vado in 2023 was an absolute banger, and I got to stand in the infield and watch all those. And that's something I need to, when we talk about this with fans. If you get the chance, there's not a lot of tracks that you get to go to the infield, but for some odd reason, if you get to go, sometimes watching the super late model races in the infield, dude, they're just absolutely crazy. Like, it's just to hear it, to just really see how hard the cars are driving in there. And it's a different perspective that not a lot of people get to get. And I know there's not a lot of tracks that you get that opportunity to, but I did have to give that honorable mention to the 2023, the Friday of the weekend finale of the Wild West Shootout, 30 lap, get it on, shebang. Kyle Larson passes 14 cars or 16 cars on his way to fourth, and my boy Bagley passed 14 cars on his way to 10th. And that the list I gave was some pretty stout dudes, and that was the year that I think they had like 50 late models out there. So, but that was an absolute just barn burner, to see a guy, like, guys are literally passing a car every other lap, and it was really cool to see and to watch from the infield, man. Because let's just be real, Kyle Larson can pull the absolute greatest out of any equipment he's driving, and to see him put the Rumley 6 at the time on the lip like that was something phenomenal to watch. So that was my honorable mention before we jumped off of best super races there. I had to give a shout out to my boy Bags and then Kyle Larson as well. I don't think nobody's going to shake a hat at Kyle Larson passing 16 cars in 30 laps at a Wild West Shootout finale as a downer for best super late model race to ever see in person.
No doubt, man. That's good stuff there. And then one other one. Hey, we'll do some different classes these next few weeks. We'll just have to put our thinking cap on and get to thinking about some good races we've seen. But it's always kind of fun to take a trip down memory lane. And honestly, I might have to go through my old camera roll and or pull, just to get my memory jogging a little bit, about some stuff. Because, dude, I've seen and I've called a ton of races over the years, man. I really have. Like, there's a lot I probably forgot about. Like, there's a lot of races at Timberline that were just phenomenal. Like, I tell people all the time, like, one of my favorite races was before RaceON. It was the factory stock 50, but it was the limited modified portion of that race. And Michael Smith out of Paris, Texas won it. It was like him and Brandon Ball, Jimmy Day, Bo Day. I filmed it on my phone, like up in the box, but it was just a badass race. Like, it was one of the best limited modified features I've ever saw. And also there was another limited feature there, and I didn't even plan on talking about this. I figured we'd save the limiteds for another day, but Adam Roy, Braden Dotson, and Justin Whitehead had one of the best limited modified features I've ever saw at Timberline. This was back in their opening year in 2013. See, I got my memory jogging itself now, just thinking of stuff. So I was going to ask you, though, what's the best factory stock race you've seen in person? Like, because we talk a lot about late models. I kind of want to talk. We've seen a lot of really, really good factory stock races around here over the years. What's the best factory stock race you've seen?
Man, I'm gonna be a homer, I guess, and just the first one that comes to mind, the 2024 rendition, the Darty Smith Memorial Factory Stocks. Mark Underwood Jr. has a flat about 7 laps into the race,
Awesome.
and then absolutely storms through the field. I think me and you actually got to announce that race, Zach. That was my debut of announcing there. That's just the one that comes to mind, being a homer for my boy Darty. The 125, Mark Underwood Jr. put on a clinic and found the extreme top side of the Sabine Speedway and drove through the field and past Dakota Wyatt and 36J to get the job done that night. But just to have a flat on lap 5 and to come through the field like he did. And I don't know if he let the Ape Engines power plant ever catch a breath, because he was on the wood and I mean, like throwing rooster tails in the middle of 1 and 2, just hustling it for everything he had. That has to go down. I know that's me being a homer, but that has to go down. It's probably one of the coolest factory stock races I've ever seen, just to go from having a flat and hustling your way around the top and then to pass Dakota Wyatt, who's a standout factory stock driver himself, and then the 36J with like 2 to go. I mean, that's all. That's really all you need to know.
Absolutely. Man, I got a couple. The inaugural King of the Hill. I've talked about this some over the years, but that inaugural King of the Hill is really what spearheaded that event to become what it was, with just how that race played out. We saw Cowboy Richard Blanchard charge himself from 24th to 2nd, past Chris Hennigan there on the last lap. Hennigan finished 3rd. So Cowboy 24th to 2nd, but Marcus Caudle, full throttle, goes from 8th to the win, driving Cole Smith's number 19 car as a Mod Mafia car, but like nobody saw that win coming for Full Throttle, and since that time he's used that win as a great testimony for him and his, getting back as far as getting back into racing, but he's dedicated it to the Lord. Like, Marcus is a good dude, and I'll never forget that win. That's just far as just the emotion and everything into it, like we paid $10,000, Cortland, to a factory stock driver. At that time,
Yeah.
10 years ago, that was the first time we really had done that. All the Cajun classics were 5,000 a win to that point. So 10,000 win was kind of unheard of, at the time. And here we are now racing for 30 grand. And I really feel like Dustin Hennigan's run and his win at the 30K, you can say it's recency bias. I'm telling you, people, that we'll look back on that race, I feel like, in 10 years and talk about it in the same way, because that was one of the most electric drives I've seen. I know we've talked about it here some as well. And then the SmackDown at 67 in 2018 between Justin Whitehead and Chris Hennigan. Maybe it was
Yeah.
2017. And this is off the top of my head. The highlights are on RaceOn's Facebook, or they were at one time. All the highlights presented by sawblade.com. No, but that was literally, dude. Chris Hennigan and Justin Whitehead were side by side for it
Side
was
by
only a
side. Yep.
25 lapper. They were side by side for the entire 25 laps. Whitehead was running a lane higher. Him and Chris never touched the entire race and raced this far apart from each other. Chris would get the advantage diving down into 1 and 2, making the track shorter, and Justin would get the runs and the launch off the top, and he'd dip his right rear tire off the back straightaway and dive it deep into turn number 3 so he could get a really good launch off of 4. And man, it was a photo finish. They came to the line, and it was like this. I mean, it was phenomenal. Faulkner, of course, and Keith Nagelson at 67 this year, getting a little more recency bias. But as far as maybe that goes down to the great finishes column or wildest finishes column, but that one
Yeah.
was insane. And then just an honorable mention. I've talked about this here before too. The Kerry Eason and Doug Vick Jr. photo finish from Arklatex Speedway, which I say is the closest finish in Arklatex Speedway history, which rivals the Lee Davis and Rob Litton finish in the Super Race in 2008. But Doug Vick Jr., Kerry Eason 2017, just an unbelievable finish in the factory stock. Eason slips over his right rear with the right rear tire over the top of 4. Vic slides him. Eason gets a straight line run off of 4 and dives down underneath Doug Vick and beats him to the line by literally on like a half of a paper clip. Like it was awesome. But that's all I got for the best factory stock races I've seen off the top of my head. Maybe next week we'll do modifieds and something else. I've seen some good
I
ones.
think I want to add in on the Cowboy Blanchard one. I didn't know you was going down that hole, but didn't Cowboy have to take the fast time provisional to get into the race? Or am I tripping? Because he started 24th.
Yeah,
Wasn't that the fast time provisional?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
He
like
took the
didn't even
provisional,
race his way. Yeah, took the fast time provisional, didn't even race his way in, and drove all the way up to second and was on Cottle's back bumper. I was sitting there watching on the backstretch myself, and it's one of them deals. Like I think every time that anybody ever sees Cowboy, which Cowboy, I don't know if you listen to this, like come back out to the racetrack and hang out with the homies. Like
Love
your
that
buddy
dude,
Cortland
man.
over here misses you. Like we have the running joke every time he would see me, he would run up and just like jump up in the air, and I was just supposed to catch him somehow miraculously. Like I don't know how he would just take off running and jump up in the air. I don't know. That's a weird story there, but anyway, Cowboy Blanchard come back out the races, but just to add to their inaugural King of the Hill, it took a fast time provisional to start the race and then drove all the way up to second. And then the running joke is always like, Cowboy, you can never say you would run over your mama to win a race because you drove from 24th to second, and for 10 grand you wouldn't even like bump a dude out the way. Like you drove the cleanest race ever. Like you drove the cleanest you could into turns 3 and 4 for 10 grand back however many years ago it was,
And some of them earlier Cajun classics were just really, really good. Some of the racing in between like 2010, like 2009 to 2015 ish were just incredible at Arklatex. It like truly lived up to the moniker, the land of the 3 wide. I that's one thing I always took pride in. Like I created that land of the 3 wide moniker and it stuck because it truly and it's not something that I did, like the racing did it, right? Like the racing lived up
Yeah.
to it. And that's ultimately what was so cool about calling races at Vivian every week was just the racing, man. Me and Bill Kitchen had such a blast, man. Like we would have 68 factory stocks on a regular Saturday
It's
night, and Gene would
crazy.
split them up and pay 200 to win 20 cars in each race, or 22 in each.
Yeah.
It was man, great times, man. Great times. What a time to be
You
alive. I'll
talk
never
about
forget them, dude. Never forget it.
You talk about the OG Arklatex factory stock days. There's a video, actually, I'll never forget it. It was during, I think the Outlaws had a swing. They were doing like Lone Star, Little Rock, and they ended up at Meridian. And then so Little Rock rained out, so they went from Lone Star, and a couple of race teams just stopped in at Arklatex. And I think it was either Devin Moran or one of his brothers put on Facebook and said the greatest stock car racing you'll ever see. And it was a video of the Arklatex factory stock racers,
Yeah.
like, and you see 36J, and like literally it's the start of the race and they come out of turn 2 and we're 5 wide, like through the field. Like it was just absolute bananas. And it was it was, man, that I say OG, like way back in the gap would be OG, but that time frame of factory stock racing, man, it was something else. That's what made it what it is today, is because
Right.
of Arklatex and the Cajun Classic, and now we got the King of the Hill to kind of continue that legacy. But that's what built factory, that is the ground, that is the foundation of factory stock racing, was that era at Arklatex, and just going up there and absolutely, it was a spectacle, like it really was. Them Arklatex factory stocks would just put on a show. The old bombers, whatever you want to call them. Just know that back in that time frame, they put on the best show, hands down, week in and week out. Like you said, there were 68 of them, 70, 50, no matter what. They would have split them up into 2 features, and both features would be equally as good. And just what a great time frame it was for factory stock racing.
I'm gonna hit you with this pretty randomly right now. What do you think about this, son? You got a number 7S stock car returning to Boot Hill Speedway and probably Arklatex in 2026. It's got Smith on the brow and it's got Cortland Smith's number. Look at our boy Brentley Smith, huh?
Hey,
What do you
go
think of
ahead,
that?
Brentley.
Do you have any pointers? Do you have any pointers that you would like to give a fellow Smith that also sports the number 7S?
Hey, I love the number selection. The last name, it is what it is. Like I would love
It
to
is what
think
it
my
is.
boy Brentley, he saw old Big Sexy at one time wheel around the old Arklatex and said, like, that dude, I like that guy. I was never fast, but I had a few good runs to my showing back in the day. But one wise word, don't give up. Because there's going to be some trial and tribulation. Don't give up. Learn as much as you can here. You're not going to go out there and set the world on fire. Take your lumps, take your bruises. It's a learning experience. And soak in as much as you can right now, and find you a couple guys. And I'll tell you right now, Brentley Smith, if you want to go racing, I would tell you the weekends you're not racing, go find somebody to go the races with and go see the weekend and how they operate and how they do things, and try to learn from some of the wiser elder statesmen and, in the current times. That's something that I think would be really beneficial to a younger Smith racer himself, representing the 7S. Got a shout out to the homie there for repping the 7S. I ain't mad about it. He can go ahead and run it on. I wasn't good enough to claim that number myself anyway, but yeah, soak in as much as you can, man. Have fun, enjoy it. It's a thrill like no other. It's an experience that you wish everybody got to experience. Go out there and racing, man. It's something like no else, man. I'm sitting here talking about it, Zach. I'm starting to itch, man. I'm oh boy.
What I was gonna say, he's raced tuners a little bit the last couple of years, but this will be his first year getting into a big car. So I'm looking forward to that. It's fun. I watched his grandfather Petey Smith race, his dad Justin Smith race factory stocks, drove the number 10 car. You probably raced door to door with him, had a white blue car, blue letter number 10 car. But man, he's got some good sponsors like Armstrong Record Service. Remember Jason and Wes Armstrong, the 5 and the 57 modified. He's got, Marshall Lubin Auto. Yeah, so he's got some good people in his corner, man. I'm excited. There's a lot of good, we talk about the youth in the sport and this and that. We just watched the Chili Bowl, watch all these young kids coming up. And I know that's a different level of racing, but, everybody's got to start somewhere, whether you're doing it for love or passion or for a hobby, or maybe you have different goals or aspirations, but you got to all start somewhere. And I tell you what, we do seemingly have a good crop of young racers or young teens that want to get into the sport right now. And that's a good thing. We just need them to bring their friends and family with them, right? Like make racing cool again. Like, I'm not saying it's not or hadn't ever not been cool. It's just, we've got to find a way to get this thing growing and get some more people in the stands and try to find that groove back that we had at one point in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, we're just in a weird time. It's so it's not like you're going out there and you're setting the valves on your own, personal vehicles anymore. The motorhead generation and all that stuff is kind of wheedling out, but any chance I get sometimes in my classes, I'll get to rambling about some racing, and I may throw a video up there or something. On a Friday we took our test and everybody's done, and I'll throw a video up and they're like, man, like that's pretty cool, and it's just you're just in a different time. It's different generations, but racing still as cool as it ever was. Factory stock racing, I know we talked about it, how in the old era that was like OG gangster stuff, but I mean, like at the end of the day, we just raced for $30,000 and had one of the best factory stock races you ever seen in your life, one of the best, hands down, one of the best dirt track races you'll ever see in your life. And so racing's still cool. We just got to find a way to get to that younger demographic and just try to find a way to get kids to put down the iPads and the smart devices and show up to a racetrack and go experience it. It's again, it's one of those deals. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. I mean, that's fine. Anybody can call me weird. I find it absolutely amazing. Like I love going to the racetrack, and and I think it's also one of those deals we got to do a good job as ambassadors for the sport. If you see somebody there that looks like it's their first time, like it's kind of obvious to point out the people that like aren't regulars. Let's just put it like that, because they probably show up in white t-shirts or white pants. And if we see somebody, just ask them like, man, it's your first time to the racetrack. It's just, we gotta do as much as we can, because, that younger demographic is struggling. Like you said, invite your friends, invite your family out. And try to get as many people out to the racetrack as you can. At the end of the day, the argument can go back and forth between whose job it is to be the promoters, whether it's the promoters of the racetrack or the drivers themselves or whatever affiliation you have to dirt track racing, or whatever your role may be in dirt track racing may be. But I think we just all need to be ambassadors of the sport. Any chance we get to talk about it in a positive light, I'm gonna reiterate positive light. We need to, because at the end of the day, half the people that sit there and make negative comments, they're still watching races every single weekend or showing up at the racetrack every single weekend. And it just puts out a negative frame, and we don't need to, because that's most of the time. We never see 48 posts about what an amazing night we had and hanging out at the racetrack. It's most of the time somebody being negative, and that's just what seems to get all the heat and the likes and the activity on the interweb. But we just all need to do our part and be ambassadors. And whether it's just one person a year or 58 people a year that we get to show up at the racetrack, we got to find a way to do that.
Sorry.
What?
It's when you said we got to do our best job of being ambassadors, it sounded like you said we got to do our best job of being bastards. I don't know. That's not what you said.
Oh, ambassadors. I'm sorry. The country accent there. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know. I promise you, I promise you somebody else might laugh with it.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all I got, man. I don't know if you got anything, but that's about all I got. So that's a WRAP for me, sir.
I'm just going to hit a couple of the dirt late model silly season things that, okay. Some people may be questioning what happened. A big thing that we saw a absolute throwdown go down between Corey Hedgecock and Bobby Pierce. Corey Hedgecock's in the Billy Hicks 79 ride. So that's something that's happened. We saw Josh Rice again. He raced a couple times before, but he's in that JRR ride with the crew chief of Randall Edwards. That's something pretty cool. And Brandon Overton, first weekend officially racing here as just the Riggs Motorsports team, no longer as a Longhorn factory affiliated, but on his own. My boy Ryder out there on the wrenches for the 76. I think they're going Lucas Oil Racing. That finally came out. That was a big decision that's been teetering, I believe. That was going back and forth. I don't know if they knew if they were going to go Outlaws or Lucas Oil Racing, but I believe they made it internet known and worldwide known. The press release that came out that they're going Lucas Oil Racing. So it'll be interesting to see the 76 go out there and hit it again and kind of do it on his own terms. Brandon Overton became the Brandon Overton we know, racing out of his shop. Wasn't necessarily a national tour guy, but went out there and absolutely dominated Eldor and got to do it on his own terms. So that'll be something interesting to keep your eye on. He showed a lot of speed here at Volusius. I believe it was fast time one night for sure. Won a heat race, was up front, was able to start up front a lot. Didn't necessarily show the speed in the feature, but like he said in an interview, we're knowing what not to do now. So once we get all the what not to do's out the way, we'll finally find something that is a to do, and we'll go out there and have some speed in the feature. So that's just kind of something I wanted to mention there. The 76 might be trending back, ladies and gentlemen, and it'll be cool to see the. I know I call myself maybe Big Sexy, but that dude, if he wants to claim that name, he can have it. Brandon Overton, the Big Sexy 76 Budweiser, man, that Budweiser car is so good looking. Like, I know I just went down a rabbit hole about Brandon Overton, but like that Budweiser car is so clean. Like, but he's on the trend upwards, I believe. I can save some of my other notes for later. We can call that a WRAP if you want, my friend, or if you got anything else to add, I'm here for it.
I was gonna say, yeah, that rap makes me want to have a Budweiser. I was gonna say that, I'd have my first beer in over a year, but I forgot I drank my first beer in over a year on Saturday at the RaceON shindig. I had a Shiner Bock, and I drink like 3/4. It was pretty good.
A what?
It was pretty good. A Shiner Bock.
What is that?
It's a Texas
I guess it's
beer.
a beer.
It's a Texas beer, and it's delicious.
Right.
It's more of a dark lager. It's good. But
well, I hear you.
Well, I hear you. There was something else I was gonna. Oh yeah, maybe my producer will clip this part for our little teaser. Open wheel modified drivers, get registered for the Longhorn Roundup at Hunt County Raceway. That race is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Pre-entries are down. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe you know what I think it might be, Cortland? It might be guys got burnt in the past by different promoters. I know that this promoter is not going to burn anybody. If the race doesn't happen, obviously you'll be refunded, but I believe we'd love to have the race. I just think that we'd like to see some more pre-entries at this point for the Longhorn Roundup. I don't have the exact numbers, but this race, we've had a lot of talk about it. We're really looking forward to it. It's highly anticipated. This race is coming back after a long time off, has a lot of rich history with it. And I think that and I'm not sure if maybe guys are just looking to show up the day of the race. I'm not sure, but guys, get up there and y'all get registered for this race because it's really, really going to be a good one. So that's for the Longhorn Roundup at Hunt County.
It pays $10,000 to win, $1,050 or $1,000 to start. All right, $1,000 to start, $1,000 to start the race, and they even have. I think they race like qualifier nights, like but just simply $10,000 win, $1,000 just to start the main event. Yeah, reiterate exactly what you said. I knew that start money was really big.
When I talked to you earlier today on the phone, we were talking about this, and I said, what, this thing's got the start money's probably like a standard super late model region, like it's probably $400 to start. I had no idea that it was $1,000 to start. Hello, What are we doing? How you doing? Keep it moving. Modified guys, get registered. It's time. Time to register for the Longhorn Roundup. You got a few weeks. So there's that.
And that's going to be, get registered for it. Just go ahead and get after it. Like you said, there are good people over there at Hunt County. It's going to be who doesn't want to race a 10,000, 1,000 to start main event? There's not. Let's just be real. I think the average, it's what is, I ain't throwing no shade at USMTS, but a USMTS race pays what, like $300, $400 to start? I could be wrong. I could be way wrong on that. But 10,000 and $1,000 just to start the main event. You can go hop in the pond and be a silly goose if you're a modified guy around here and you say there ain't enough modified races. Well, you got probably one of the best modified racing payouts for, like I'm just saying, like if all these modified guys that want to place the race, here's your opportunity.
Well, we already had a cruise set up for the second week of February. It's like, well, plan a little bit better, buddy. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I got. Thank y'all for listening to Clark After Dark, episode 69. He's Cortland Smith. I'm Zach Clark. Be blessed and be a blessing. We'll see you next time.
Later.